Welcome to episode 5 of the You Can't Comp This podcast. It's 2022. Russell, what are we doing? It's a year has passed and things haven't changed in the slightest, have they?
Welcome, mate. How you doing?
I'm great. We're actually recording in person for the first time.
Face to face.
Yes, first
Good
time.
to see you.
Yeah, literally. Get up to much over the Christmas break.
Lots of family, lots of food, and
I avoided elves and eggnog. Although I didn't get to watch a lot of basketball, so going around the league might be a bit dry on NBA results.
Christmas Day games were good. I'm not sure if you caught any of those, but
I call them the Boxing Day games, and I tend to miss them because I'm on the road. But
that is true.
Yeah, there was some really good basketball.
It was fun.
Yeah. I wasn't overly impressed, and I don't think I'm going to be impressed by my team for the rest of this year. So yes, but yeah, the Phoenix Golden State matchup.
Perfect.
It could be a Western Conference Finals preview.
It's just high quality basketball, and it's a really good game.
Yes. What else is going on? I believe that some action happening in the East.
Yeah.
Sad action.
Yeah, it is actually, because Rubio out for the year with his torn ACL.
Yep.
The Cavs were just the darlings of the league. In my opinion, just easily the biggest darlings in the league. And
just a real feel-good story, the Cavs. And Ricky Rubio, he's been through a lot. He's had a sort of a roller coaster of a career.
Yeah.
And really unfortunate, the ACL.
Yeah.
But Cleveland have not mucked about. They are out making moves, and the luckless Lakers have traded Rajon Rondo away for Denzel Valentine.
Yeah. So the win for the Cavs is that they get someone to come in and mentor, which the last few years, really Rondo resurrected his career, came back as a teacher and as a bench presence, because
he's the locker guy. He's the veteran. He's a real leadership role.
Yeah. I think after his time in Boston, when he was around the big three, that was his big struggle of his career, was what is he? Is he a starter? Is he a star? And then he really did settle in Chicago and Atlanta as a teacher and a mentor. And so I think for Cavs, this is just an A+ deal, and what they gave up for him was, a nice wing 3-and-D player, Valentine's being cut by the Lakers so they can create a roster spot, but he's going to get picked up again. I think he'll get a guaranteed deal for the rest of the year. He's that type of player. And I'll also say too, with COVID happening, where you've got half the G League is currently on an NBA roster.
Well, I was going to say they might be dipping further than the G League at some point with the amount of people in COVID protocols. So,
bring back some of the guys from China, you reckon?
Yeah, that's it. Look, Anthony Bennett might get a game yet. You never know. Yeah. But yeah, good to see Rondo sort of go. He wasn't really getting much of an opportunity in LA.
Yeah.
Clearly, when they won the title, that bubble season, he played a crucial role.
He shot the ball better than he'd ever shot it.
That's playoff Rondo.
Yeah.
Yep. So, but yeah, really not getting a run this year with the likes of Westbrook, and ball handling. He's sort of not getting the minutes. So really good opportunity for him in Cleveland.
Yeah.
And all our thoughts are with Ricky Rubio.
Definitely.
Hope he does recover and comes back stronger next year.
I just think also too, for Cleveland, this is such a contrast where we got other teams in the league who are trying to lose on purpose.
Yeah.
These are guys are going out of their way to keep the momentum going. They've lost Sexton already. Now they've lost Rubio. So it's not like they haven't had chances to say, we're going to pull the plug on this season and
just give it up.
Get a nice draft pick. So for me, this is just, I can't give it enough pluses on the A. It's just, it's fantastic to see.
And Rondo sort of gets to really sort of showcase all of his knowledge of the game and with a young crowd. So I think he'll do fantastic over there. And I suppose the next question is what are the Lakers preparing for, clearing up an extra roster spot?
They have to be preparing for something else, because there's no other reason to make this deal.
You hit the emergency button at some point, because it's not looking great in the purple and gold at the moment.
They're definitely in trouble.
Yeah, except LeBron putting his best Benjamin Button impression on against the Portland Trailblazers, dropping
He's amazing.
40-point game as a 37-year-old.
Yeah.
He's
You got to give the guy some credit.
when does the decline begin? That's going to be an upcoming question.
All right, so I think keeping this sort of, bringing it back to hobby values and, hobby-wise, Darius Garland, PSA 10 silver.
Oh,
Last sold for $332 USD, so in the last 3 months, he's only up 13%, which to me doesn't seem like enough. In the last month, he's up 10%.
so it's steady growth.
Yep. In the last 2 weeks, he's down 1%, so nothing that you would really be too worried about, but...
It's more of a ripple than a wave at the moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I have to admit, I've been watching more Cavs than I really anticipated that I would be doing, and for me, in my mind, his hobby value is now, this is established. Like, you can see his decision making, you can see his, like, floor general, that's not the right word. He's become a real floor general.
Yep. Yep, and he's really sort of progressed early.
Yeah.
I think more it's a surprise.
Yeah. And if there was a conversation between Sexton and Garland, I think that conversation is no longer anymore.
It's no longer really
This is
no longer a
Garland's
discussion.
team.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And what else is going on around the league?
I think probably the next thing we should talk about is the PSA rollout. So they're trying to progressively get back their services to, ideally what they're trying to get back to is the $15 sub.
Yeah. Now we alluded to this that was happening.
Yeah.
They also had their monthly updates of what's being graded.
Yeah.
Now, big news: the PSA regular sub is back.
Yeah. So that's $100 sub. So I think, some people will be saying, well, that is still incredibly high and it excludes out a lot of people, which is 100% true. But we're also seeing this is progress, because they went from a point where they basically weren't taking subs.
They couldn't accept any submissions.
Yeah.
To where the regular submission level is back, and it's an expensive price point.
Yeah.
But there are no sub limits, and the declared value has gone up.
Yeah.
For the regular sub too.
So, do you want to talk to us a little bit about that? Just because there are going to be some listeners who don't really understand that sort of concept too well.
I was going to say, this is the concept. This is why I got put off by grading cards myself.
Yeah.
I grew up in a world, or was familiar with a world, where you'd go to BGS and you would pay a flat rate.
Yeah.
I would give whoever was sending the cards off
$50. Yeah.
Send my card off, it would come back, and it doesn't matter what the card's worth.
Yeah. Whether it's $5 or $15,000.
You insure your mail so that it doesn't get lost in the mail.
Yeah.
But I send my card off, they don't need to know what it's worth.
Yeah.
It comes back with a grading on it. Simple as that.
Great. And that's a really good comparison of BGS to PSA.
Yep.
Yeah.
PSA, on the other hand, there's an a guessed value, current market value of the card.
Yeah.
That you're submitting it at a value point.
Yeah.
Now, if I've got a Luka Doncic Silver Prism rookie, and I tell PSA that I think it's only worth $500, and I throw it through regular, I'm really not going to get that graded.
So they will upcharge you at the end. That's
and
what
that confuses the living hell out of me.
Yeah,
because it's like, but you've already got my card, you've already graded it. It's for the beginners out there. It's very much be careful, know the process.
Yeah,
because if you think you're shortcutting, I declared it was only worth $1,000 and it's really a $25,000 card, you're going to be up for a bit of money.
So I should know this, but this is something that I don't know and I didn't do any prep for. It's actually, so correct me if I'm wrong, it's actually the returned value, isn't it? It's not the...
the raw value.
It's not the raw value. So it's when the card comes back at whatever it is, PSA 9 or PSA 10, and that's the value. And I think that's where I always get really confused, is because do you assume you're going to get a PSA 10 or do you assume you're going to get a PSA 9? Because there is a big price difference.
There's going to be a bit of a price difference there.
Yeah.
I'm sure they've got a bit of leeway with how strict they are on that.
Yeah.
And I believe it's based on current perceived market price.
Yeah. Even that's quite difficult, really, when you think about it. Like,
it's like, well, this is the thing. Who's the regulatory?
Yeah.
Is it based on eBay? Yeah. Are we dealing with it gets murky.
Due to volume, it must be. They must use eBay sales.
Yeah, and as we discovered last episode, there's a lot of volume going through.
Yeah.
So I guess, I don't know. This is another reason that they're probably buying up that. Well, that's why they've probably bought Card Ladder. They've acquired. Do you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
PSA are making moves, and I think there's more to this.
Interesting.
Like being maybe they want to be the regulatory body, or be in a position to put themselves in the prime position. Yeah.
So look, and this is probably stating the obvious now, but that moving it from $9.99 to $14.99 just gives consumers more value, because now you're not paying a higher price point. If it's greater than $1,000, you actually now get that $1,500 worth of value for that same $100 sub fee. So that's at least that's some benefit for the consumer. That's a nice little step.
Definitely, and it's one of those things where you're going to see a lot of slabs that are worth. If you see a slabbed card that's worth less than $100, like take note that some people may have paid $100 to get this graded, and so you're getting massive value if you're buying a card. Obviously, it might be on the $15 special, but still, it's not cheap to get your cards graded.
No.
So
I think that's a good point, because this year, if you've had rookie cards come back already, they must have used the Express,
which is a lot more than $100.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's right. If you're getting it for less than, you're definitely ahead. But I suppose if you then go 5 years into the future and you've paid overs for the card, you're still paying overs for the card. So, yes, you're getting good value. And
it's but what does it add value wise? Like when you look at a slabbed card, are you looking at the raw card and the markup? Are you looking at the cost involved to actually get that graded? Is that going to change now with the way that both BGS and PSA shut their doors because they couldn't handle the volume?
Did PSA technically shut their doors, or just increase the price so high that people stopped subbing?
Made a huge deterrent, and people kept subbing.
Yeah. Like high-end cards, like for example, 1-in-1 that dropped a couple of weeks back. I've already seen a Lamelo Ball downtown PSA 10 come back. So obviously that person must have got it on release day and then literally sent it off, same day express. But to get that back so quickly, that's express.
That's express, and that's not cheap.
Yeah,
that is. It interests me whether or not the value is in buying a slabbed card for obviously an inflated price based on its raw value, but the risk you're putting up with the dollars you're putting into sending a card off for grading. You come back with an 8, you've done your dough. Yeah. You well and truly.
I don't have a stomach for that. I'm not going to lie to you.
Can you imagine that? You're spending hundreds upon hundreds of dollars, and you get your card back, and it's PSA 8.
Yeah. Look, I've got a box of cards that I've got ready to send off when it comes back down. That's what my plan is.
Ready for that value, $15, get them in.
Yeah.
Turnaround.
And other than that, that's me done. You know what I mean? I don't really see the.
And I think because of their place in the market, PSA are always going to be able to do that different tiering with the value of the card as well.
They're kings of the jungle.
They are. It'll be interesting. It'll be just interesting to see what all the new players and the other players in the market do to compete with PSA.
Once they open their doors up again.
That's it. BG, as I said, I go back to the happy days of going, I get a BGS 9.5, and that 9.5 cost me $50.
Yeah. Can't go wrong.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that's that's it. I don't think it'll ever cost $50 again, but
they're hoping that it will.
Who knows?
Yeah.
And of course, obviously being in Australia, that changes with a lot of USD pricing, and it is a little bit more expensive for us. But
but still, if the base is $15, that's a very promising.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. The card market will stabilise. See if the grading market stabilises as well, or there's still a roller coaster to ride.
Look, I just hope graded cards come back, because I really do think it helps sales and gets guys interested in buying raw to flip them into graded. I've really missed that the last 12 months, and it's definitely something that I've noticed. And even on eBay, you just don't see graded cards for sale anymore. I'm looking forward to it coming back for sure. Yeah.
Speaking of some
graded
cards, what about let's Lamelo?
Yep.
National Treasures.
Yep. Huge.
Is that it's around about the average price point? to get a Lamelo, isn't it? 255k.
Yeah, USD.
USD.
Yeah.
So that's
BGS 9.5, 10 auto,
With a
3
10.
out of 10.
and it's not even his jersey number. It was the 2 of 10. Oh, what a-
500k.
That's it. 500k and the rest.
So, legit question, if you had this much coin, is this a buy, a hold, or a sell card? And I suppose I'm asking this question as a historic question, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
255k for a rookie.
Is this actually a good investment, though?
On the basis that, I mean, are we on board thinking LaMelo is one of those players that's going to be the future? We've spoken about it previously, where it's like Luka, LaMelo.
Yeah.
He's part of that next generation, that next wave.
Yeah.
So maybe that's and I'll go back to like the Luber Manifesto with that Jordan that sold for $750,000.
Yeah.
It was future investing, because that's a future price.
Yeah.
Because somebody said that's $1 million card.
Yeah.
I'm going to get it at value for 750k.
Yeah.
Is that one of these scenarios that we're witnessing?
Like, this year for me, the hobby has been so weird because we're halfway through the NBA season. We're halfway through, aren't we?
We're rapidly approaching the halfway mark of the NBA season
And
for
hoops-
21-22.
And Hoops hasn't even come out yet.
We're still getting releases of 2021 product.
Yeah, last year's stuff. Which is... No, that's 1920, isn't it?
No, it feels like 1920.
Like, it's just so bizarre. And it's really given us, a good long look at the rookie class.
The rookie class and our sophomores.
Yeah, that we're current... No, I'm talking about, like, now this year's rookies. So, like...
So the new rookies.
Yeah.
But this is the thing. Like, we've still got LaMelo rookie cards coming out.
Yeah.
And he's already won Rookie of the Year.
No, but I suppose the point I'm trying to make, though, is because this year has been so, like, back to front, it's given us this chance to look at the current rookies. And actually, now we're talking about this NT card. Is this card a better buy than any other rookie that's coming through in this year's class? And you could make a very, very strong argument that the answer is yes.
At this stage, yes.
In terms of his gameplay, in terms of his marketing, in terms of the flair that he puts onto the game.
Well,
and
yeah, I don't...
And so direct compare Lamelo to Cunningham.
Well, let's not do that. That's a bit unfair on Cunningham.
No, but it's not.
Yeah,
It's not, though. It's
I
like
know.
it's the perfect comparison, because it's like Tim Duncan versus Chris Webber, or Tim Duncan versus KG. You know what I mean? Like, so you've got
so
one
they're in the
guy who's like
ballpark.
super fundamentally sound, and you've got these other guys who are like, trash talk and bravado, right? And it's the same sort of thing, but in a guard gameplay perspective.
I'm gonna play devil's advocate, and I'll go back 12 months.
Sure.
LaMelo Ball isn't the same LaMelo Ball 12 months ago.
What do you mean by that?
That price, if NT had been brought forward,
Yeah.
even to February 2021.
So what would the price be 8 months ago? Because NT always releases at the end. It would have been 12 months ago.
I say the only 2 and 5 in there comes with a 1. I reckon it's a 125k card 8 months ago. Before his Rookie of the Year award, 125k.
See, I would say the opposite, because...
I think it'd be more.
Yeah, well, the reason is because, remember, we're now at the sort of the down end of a trend, right? And we have had a pretty steep decline. And the other thing, too, is like...
How hot did people get on Melo, though?
Well, he propped up
faded.
he propped up the whole year.
So there was a point there, and I know when with the Prism,
No one else
there was
has
a
been
fade.
on the... No
There
one
was
else
a
has
fade
been on
in
the cover
rookies.
of the box. Like, what other rookies have been on the cover of the box?
Yeah, fair point. Yeah, that's a fair point.
It's like...
I just think there was a lull on LaMelo, and if NT had come out maybe 6 months earlier,
Yeah.
we're not looking at a over 200k sale.
Okay.
I just think there was a point there where there was a lull, and he won Rookie of the Year, and they said that's all he's got.
Yeah.
Now we've seen him for another half a season,
Yeah.
and everybody's like,
This kid can play.
this kid,
It's not just hype.
this is the best ball brother.
Yeah.
Lonzo was overhyped. LaMelo's not. And look, Lonzo's doing well in Chicago. Don't get me wrong, but
He's
as
got a great
rookie,
career. He's now having a great career.
Correct.
Yeah.
Look, it probably wasn't the best thing for him to start in LA,
Yeah.
but he is where he is now, and I think he's in the right spot.
Let's segue back to
The other
good
brother,
ball,
the good
LaMelo.
ball brother.
Yeah.
But I think it's weird when like the gap just keeps getting wider and wider between release and like the product releases and the new season. So we're going to have seen nearly a whole season.
Yeah.
By the time rookie cards start really circulating.
Yeah.
And you can't judge every rookie on their rookie season.
Yeah.
But what's at the point where start of the season you're like, which rookie am I going to collect? You don't even need to ask that question anymore.
This year is completely different. You've had all the time in the world to prospect and
the analytics will be out when Hoops releases. When Hoops drops, everyone will know exactly who they want to collect.
Yeah.
Now, does that bode well for the set if the rookie class is soft?
I just think that
is there I suppose it goes back to, is there a problem with these releases taking so long? Are there too many sets? There's just too many releases in a calendar year to go, if we're a season and a half later from Lamelo being a rookie and we're still getting Lamelo rookies.
Yeah. So there's a little bit to unpack in that question, but I think part of the question what you're asking is do we have too many sets? I think the answer is no, because people are still interested in the product.
Fair point.
But what I would add to that is we're clearly getting to the point where we're near saturation, because you can't buy boxes and flip them for 4x anymore. We're actually buying boxes and breaking them for maybe half, in some instances, of what we're breaking it for last year.
Yep.
So obviously availability has like somewhat resolved, and obviously
there's been a shift in the availability of product and the production of product.
We can get our hands onto product now, much easier. And you can see that in people trying to, flip retail boxes and doing, small auctions for boxes and stuff like that.
And next year where there are 75 one-of-ones in the select product, and they release more product.
It's not affordable, but it's almost getting to the point now where it is affordable to open a box. And I think that is kind of nice. Can I just roll back to the little Lamelo card? Because we have segued a little bit. So for me, this is like an absolute buy. And this is if I'm in a fantasy world and I have unlimited funds.
Yep, if you've got the money.
I really think this 255k is like an absolute bargain. And I'm a little bit confused as to why it's sold for so low, because of the grade of the card, how short pressed the card is, and these cards are incredibly difficult to grade that highly. So
numbered to 10 though,
but
is it?
Yeah, but I'm saying a 9.5 BGS, like the NT cards always have like basically dinged edges, and they never cut like perfectly.
It is a 9.5.
It's high, right? Even if you get an 8, that's like pretty delicious. Yeah. So I think that's one thing, and maybe that, and this is like Shane Panther's argument, forever and a day. These uniforms aren't game worn, they're not even event worn, they're just like pieces of fabric put into the card. Maybe that is like slightly factored into the price being brought down a little bit. Possible. But to me, I actually see this as like a card that's, the market is on a downswing, and you're buying this card at a really low point. Literally buying on the dip. But it might turn out that Lamelo is the best player out of two and a half drafts. Yeah. Look, Lamelo's value, or he just seems to, he's definitely on an upward trajectory. I don't know. He's a standout from that draft class, that's for sure. Yeah. That's for certain. Yeah, I think at a future point we need to look at the overlap of set releases, because at this rate, at the start of the 22-23 season, we might finish with the 2021 products. It's getting out of control. And that's it. Like, at what point do you go, enough's enough? Is a player ready to announce his retirement at a decade in the game, and his rookie card still hasn't been released? Yeah. It's that's a bit of an exaggeration, but but do you know what I mean? Like, it's like this player's in year 3, and their rookie cards haven't hit the shelf. When do you stop? You know what I mean? Like, it used to be, the reason Hoop sells is because people want the first rookie card. Yeah. And if it's like after the All-Star break, the ship sailed. Everyone's like, nah, if we've waited this long for Hoops. The thing is, though, it's still going to be the first rookie card. Everyone's in the same boat. Yeah. We can't just get cards from an alternative source. So yeah, this is true. It's still going to be Hoops, and then Donruss, and then Prism, and then you know what I mean.
Let's
gonna
be real.
Optic,
Panini are going to print as many sets as they can to make as much money as they can before Fanatics take over.
Yeah. Let's talk about companies printing product to make money. Jersey Fusion.
Oh boy, what a follow on. So
tell me your thoughts about Jersey Fusion. Should this product be banned? Should it be crowned?
I was going to say, should we go down to the Queen Victoria Market, grab a couple of fake jerseys, just cut them up and stick them on some stuff?
Yeah.
And just sell them?
So I suppose, look, if you haven't seen the Jersey Fusion cards, some of the quality control seems a little bit lax. And
I think using the words quality control in the same sentence as... this mob is probably stretching it.
And some people online have basically said it just looks like a child has been given a pair of scissors and cut off a piece of fabric and then got some glue and just stuck it onto a random card. So some of the cards that they are advertising on the chase list, like there's a Barkley one that I'm looking at now. It's got the champion logo on it. There's the NFL patch logo on the Justin Herbert card.
Yep.
Which also coincidentally comes along with the $15,000 bounty from David Adams Card World. So,
looking for that card specifically, I don't know. We've touched on repacks in the past.
Yeah, you're probably better buying a repack.
Is this going too far?
I just
like I touched on fake jerseys from down at the local market, right?
Yeah.
Like this is the equivalent of dodgy, off the back of a truck.
Yeah.
NBA product. This is going into the local $2 shop and buying a box of Pokemon cards that are definitely not the genuine article.
Look, I'm not a skeptic, but at the same time, you know, I need convincing when it comes to to stuff like this. And this type of product in my mind is just a little bit too open for manipulation, because if you're cutting up a piece of fabric, how can you then authenticate that or prove authenticity that it, did come from, a game worn product, unless you have 100% confidence in this company who is called Sports Cards. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I just don't have that, confidence in the product. So,
no, I don't think they could even, the word genuine couldn't be used in association with any of this product. And look, there's a line. It feels like there's a line that's been crossed.
Yeah.
More than anything, and
we spoke about saturation before, and I think for me this is kind of like the saturation point.
It's not even sort of recycling, because we talked about repacks last week. There are different ways to do repacks. This is not one of those ways.
Do you want to break down for people how the product is put together?
Well, don't we just get a bunch of 3-year-olds to cut up a jersey and just get glue and
so they're taking cards from sets, so Prism cards, NBA Hoops cards, and then acquiring jerseys and then cutting them out and sticking it, like literally just sticking it onto the cards.
Are they just base cards?
Some can be short printed, some can be base cards.
So they've just written into their break, they're going a few breaks and like, can you just send me all the base cards? I need them. Got a few jerseys here.
Just going down to Cherry and grabbing all the base cards and post
all
out
the
to
base
people.
cards. I'm going to make a new set.
Yeah.
And then calling up your mate and go, do you know anyone that's got and you just name the big, any Denzel Valentine jerseys out there? Oh boy.
So I suppose, what's the alternatives to a product like this? So it's about $100 Aussie for a box. You can pick up a optic blaster for around 60 to 80 at the moment.
I think going with certified product.
Yeah.
If you're gonna go into any kind of repacked or
you can buy a repack for $100.
Correct. Yeah. There's much more sensible and genuine. I'll use genuine.
Yeah.
Products you can get for that price point.
And Onyx has come down now to around the $100-ish mark.
Yep.
Which had live on-card Giannis autographs in it. So, and I think it had Steph Curry in there too.
Quite possibly, yeah.
So,
unless you're trying to get a 15,000 bounty.
Yeah. Well, look,
David Adam.
I mean, and that's the draw. At the end of the day, is the bounty the biggest draw or the cards are the biggest draw? You can make a very strong argument that, you know, the bounty from David Adams is actually better than the card product that's coming out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so buyer beware it would be my...
Yeah, look, if you're interested in buying this product, look online and have a look what's coming out of the boxes before you do buy it, just because I think there has been a little bit of disappointment in online forums from people who've opened these cards.
Yep.
And there also seems to be a little bit of comedy value being achieved out of these boxes too, from people's comments online too. There's been some really good ones.
Oh boy.
Yeah. Look, this is definitely not for me.
Yep. And look, I think I've made it pretty clear. I'm not overly keen on repacks. This is beyond that. I wouldn't even consider this a repack. This is a homemade job.
That's so funny you say that. I didn't actually think of that. It is worse than a repack, isn't it?
Yep. It's not a repacked product. It's a repurposed repacked product.
Yeah.
And it's not even being done with any great care.
Yeah. I'd be interested to talk to the people who made this, because I wonder if actually there's a lot of challenges with doing it like this. So maybe even from our untrained...
Legal and licensing reason?
I'm sure they had to jump through some hoops, right? But what I was trying to say was, like, from our untrained eye, this looks quite messy.
Yeah.
But actually, to get it to that point, was it very difficult for them?
Ooh.
Or did they actually just not care at all and just kind of like slap it together and be just like, pow, like, let's get this to David Adams as quick as we can.
Yeah. I wonder if someone that's connected to Jersey Fusion gets to redeem that bounty. Anyway.
All right, let's leave that there. I think we've spoken enough about Jersey Fusion. What do you say?
Yeah, that's enough Jersey Fusion for one day for me.
Alrighty, I found on Twitter a very good question. An eBay seller gives a full refund to you for a lost parcel by USPS, or in our situation, Australia Post, which it does happen from time to time.
Does, yeah.
And actually, I must say, of all the break parcels and deals I've done with people, I've only ever had one parcel go missing, and that happened to me just in the last month and a half.
Oh wow.
So, you know, the percentages is, I would say, less than 1%.
Yep.
Maybe less than 0.5%, but it can happen. So it's an eBay purchase. What feedback do you leave? You've received a full refund.
I feel like it depends on what the product is.
Sure.
If I bought, say I'm buying, I don't know, a blaster or something.
Yeah.
Like I just bought like an $80 blaster.
Yeah.
And I overpaid for it, and I paid $100.
Yeah.
And they gave me my $100 back.
Yeah.
Because it got lost. Have I already complained about it being missing, or they've just taken it upon themselves to...
I mean, in the instances where I've had stuff...
So I've said I haven't received it, and they've gone, have your money back.
Yeah.
Okay. And it's a sealed product. What feedback? I give them positive feedback.
Okay.
I say, look, never received, however, fully refunded without question.
Yeah.
A double plus.
Yeah.
I don't know how many A's and pluses I'll use, but depending on the mood, they'll get, good feedback.
Yeah.
If it's a card, however...
Hit me.
My conspiracy hat goes on.
Okay.
What is the trending value of that card?
Yeah.
Have I got value here, and do they get better value by refunding me?
Yeah.
And this is... I'm not going to say glass half empty...
No.
Very cynical perspective on the world, because
say both sides, because it's an important conversation.
Yeah, because there are a lot of people out there that are out for themselves and aren't going to do right by you, and will say, "Oh, sorry, you didn't get that," because they didn't post it.
Yeah.
I'll try and track it down. Sorry, can't find it. Have a refund.
Yeah.
Said card is worth 300% of what it's sold for. Yeah. And then they make their money again.
Yeah.
So you keep an eye on that seller at that point. If it's a single, based on the value of the card that you were going to get, do you keep an eye on that seller and see if they try and relist it?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I found it, but I already refunded you, so I can list it again.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not saying if that transaction is closed because the parcel got lost, and then we know some parcels can be returned to the sender, that's fine. But it's still suspicious when that card comes up again, especially if it's a numbered card. Hey, and it is that card, that is that specific card.
It's very suspicious.
Yeah. And look, and that's look, I don't like to be so cynical when I think about people's intent, but this happens.
Yeah.
Someone, if you have it's very tempting if you sell a card. So say I go and sell one of my Kobe's and I go, it's worth $100, and then I'm just about to post it. Someone goes, please tell me you didn't sell that Kobe. It's worth $2,500.
Yeah.
And I go, but I just sold it for $100. Tell me the temptation's not there to go, sorry, and just ignore it, just not say anything, put the card away, don't post it.
Yeah.
And then say, sorry, it got lost in the mail. Here, have a $100 refund.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. And not everyone does have your best interest at heart.
Correct. And look, and I'm probably going to be unfortunately say one of the few here. And if I've made a promise, or if I've said I've finished the transaction, I've done it. I've lost that $2,400 because I sold the card for $100 when I didn't know.
Yeah.
It's like putting a 99-cent auction up and not getting what you wanted for it. It's gone. The transaction's done.
Yeah, it's done.
You know what I mean? And you hope that kind of karma comes around, and you go, you know what? Hopefully one day I win a card, $50 auction that's worth $2,000.
Yep.
Yay! But yeah, it's definitely a conspiracy there. Like the thought goes through the mind, and at that point, if it's a single card, I would leave neutral feedback.
Interesting.
I would not accuse them of doing something wrong, but the suspicion would be there, and I would leave neutral feedback and say, unfortunately, the card got lost, the transaction never got completed, refund was issued.
Yeah.
It's more of a buyer beware as well, in case it does get listed again.
Yeah. You brought up two very good points, which, to be honest, I didn't think about. And you've sort of jogged my mind a little bit, because initially when I read this question, my response was going to be just unanimous. You give them positive feedback because they've gone out of their way to make the situation right.
To rectify.
Because in some sense, it's not their fault that USPS has lost the parcel. It's somewhat out of the seller's control. So for me, it's more about how I interact with that person. Have they been helpful? Have they given me resistance? Have they actually tried to help me, resolve the situation? Because sometimes it can be 100% out of the seller's control.
Yep. And the good thing about things like that is communication is key.
Yep.
Right? As a seller and as a buyer,
yep,
communication is key. You have a disagreement about what's happened, or frustration does tip over some point, but be courteous. Keep open communication back and forth.
Yep.
No reason to give negative feedback. Completely agree.
I think probably my perspective on this a little bit, though, is that I only ship with USPS First Class.
Mm-hmm.
The only catch to USPS First Class is that not every time does it have to have tracking. And I didn't realise that until a little while. So now if someone explicitly doesn't say this has tracking, I'll actually message them and just confirm that I will receive a tracking number. Because for me, this just eliminates out so many grey areas of, yes, I've
lost,
posted it, but it never got there. So, okay, well, where's the tracking number?
Where's the tracking number?
No tracking number. So that just solves all those problems for me too. The other reason why I use tracking numbers pretty well every single time is because if you buy the same card which is unnumbered and it goes to my shipping service, when it goes into the scans, it's impossible to know which one's which unless it has a tracking number on it.
Yeah, because if it's just like a bunch of untracked parcels.
I've never really had problems like having things lost on eBay, but the problems I was having was I was buying silvers, and then buyers who I don't like were sending base cards, and then essentially misappropriating like the listing to essentially like trick you into buying silvers. So that was the other reason why I went to tracking, because like without a tracking number, it's impossible to work out if you're bulk buying, silvers, like, what's what.
If you're on a chase for a player that's you think is about to explode.
Yeah. With that in mind, like I would generally text people before I buy a card anyway because I like to sort of touch base with people and make sure that everything's okay, unless everything's explicitly written into the description, which some buyers are. Like, some buyers are pros and they don't need to have like a message sent from me. So in this instance, if I've sort of had that dialogue with someone and then they've been very helpful, I'll give them very positive feedback.
Yeah.
I have heard of some people strategically leaving positive and neutral feedback because it doesn't give the seller the right of reply. So you can give someone positive feedback, but say this is like a dodgy buyer, like avoid this person at all costs.
In bold, like capital letters, do not buy.
Yeah.
And giving positive feedback.
Well, because you can't get positive
respond.
Feedback removed from your profile, but also negative feedback you can apply to eBay to have that retracted.
And you get to respond to it.
Yeah.
What about neutral?
I'm not sure.
I'm sure neutral comes with a right of response.
Okay.
I don't know. I as a general rule, because it's normally one of those, I try not to be too quick giving the feedback.
Particularly negative feedback, right? Because let's be honest, like, who knows, but it can be very damaging negative feedback to someone.
And that's the thing. Like, there's as the buyer, you don't have to give feedback until you receive the product.
Yeah.
Right. As the seller, they can go and give you your positive feedback because you pay straight away.
Well, I'm observing more these days that the seller will wait to give you feedback until you've given them feedback.
That's it's would you call it an evolution? It's
It must be a protective mechanism because of just literally we've had so many new people come into the hobby and.
Well, I guess because there were a lot of new people to it because with
is it essentially like battlegrounds now?
Well, it is with when you go into this COVID literally everybody bought everything online.
Yeah.
So people are trying to get all of their stuff through eBay and these channels. So I guess there's a different wave of eBay clientele.
Yeah.
Both buyers and sellers.
Definitely.
Like first time sellers. How often do you tread cautiously with someone with less than 10 feedback?
I would typically avoid people with less than 10.
And that's the thing. Like, you've got all these people that are, I'm going to go onto eBay. Why is no one buying my stuff?
Yeah.
And they're genuine people. But you've got to be, in order to get your feedback up, pro tip, just buy a bunch of stuff and get some feedback accumulated so you've got some street cred.
If you're that serious, you're that genuine about it,
Don't start selling until you've bought a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
Simple. But I think the rules of engagement have changed, and it's a little bit different these days. So just tread with caution.
Yeah.
But I think you've got a good point there. Leaving positive feedback with a negative message.
Yeah.
Leaving neutral feedback to draw people's eyes to the fact that it wasn't all positive. There's a few different tactics.
Yeah.
And as many as look, we talk about the minority a lot.
Yeah. We do. You spend so much time focusing on... It's a few
rotten eggs.
Yeah.
But there
are some very legitimate...
There's some people that are out to do wrong by others.
Yeah, and there's also people out there to do right.
And there are lots of people that are just genuinely trying to buy something and do the right thing.
Yeah.
And sell something.
Yeah.
And things do go missing. We all know this with Australia Post.
Yeah.
Just sits in a warehouse for 3 weeks because no one can be bothered delivering it.
Yeah.
But I think, look, there's no right or wrong answer, but it's interesting to have that sort of discussion. Interesting that we didn't table any negative feedback, though. It's the option to leave negative really sort of didn't come to either of our minds. Yeah. It was give positive, give neutral, give positive with a negative message.
I'm very reluctant to give negative feedback. I won't lie to you about that.
It's very it can be very inflammatory.
Yeah. Next topic?
Next topic.
Great. Who isn't getting enough hobby love? So we did a little bit in our group chat to get some feedback on who isn't getting enough hobby love. So
are we talking about collectors or are we talking about players?
We're talking about players within the hobby. Yeah. So what I was thinking about doing is reading out the list, and then we
Yep.
could pick one player each and talk about that player
Okay.
who's not getting enough. All right.
like
So Chad Ellis provided a lot of different suggestions for us. Tim Duncan, Jaylen Brown, DeMar DeRozan, Bradley Beal, Russell Westbrook, Wendell Carter Jr. Luke B suggested Dirk Nowitzki. Dave Ellis suggested John Stockton. Adam Crosley said James Harden and also Kyrie Irving. Damo Winterbond said Rick Fox. Mitch Prime said Del Carter Jr. Jared Begg said Julius Randle. Angelo T said James Harden and CP3. And Andrew Regan said David Robinson. So who out of that list, mate, gets your attention?
Well, Chad Ellis gets my attention. He clearly wants a shout out with it. Start reading, just in case some of the players he was naming were going into COVID protocols. I think had some backups.
He's got
there.
all the bases covered. Yeah.
That's it,
Yeah.
definitely. Look, Julius Randle, I'll take that
Yep.
because I agree. I'm a bit of a PC. Julius Randle I PC'd him when he was at the Lakers through his rookie year, and I don't know.
So why don't people collect Julius Randle?
So this is aside from a season-ending injury in his rookie year, so the spotlight really went off him.
Yeah.
And it was also in one of the dark days of the Lakers, where Kobe was still sort of getting to the finish line.
Yeah,
the
that
Achilles,
was a very tumultuous period.
the Achilles recovery. The focus was all on Kobe. Then it was Kobe's retirement, and really, Julius Randle was had a lot of things going for him.
Yeah.
As a player, he's under the big lights. And it's like I collected him because I was like, I collect Kobe.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I'd like an affordable PC that I can just sort of focus on while I'm not spending ridiculous amounts of money on Kobe's.
Yeah.
And I sort of started collecting a bit of Julius Randle and Jordan Clarkson.
Yeah.
Now, funnily enough, both of those players got accolades last year.
Yeah.
But the spotlight just never really came back round because by the time Julius really started having an impact on the league, he'd been traded.
Yeah.
So first trade was to New Orleans, I think.
Yeah.
Where he really started to pick things up, and now in New York, he's the league's most improved player.
Yeah.
And I still think he's not getting enough love.
Interesting.
It's
So why is that? Like, why do you think that he's not getting enough?
I think it's hard for a player when they're not prominent in their rookie year.
Yeah.
They have to make a very big splash in their sophomore year, and I don't think Julius did that until well and truly after. Like, he didn't really have his league impact, even though he was putting up really good double-doubles, like crashing the offensive glass and a really exciting player to watch. He was playing on a struggling Lakers team in the shadow of Kobe Bryant.
Yeah. And how much development did they put into him?
I think he got quite a bit.
Interesting.
Because of what he was exposed to.
Yeah.
With the struggling Lakers teams and all what they were going through, he got a lot of opportunities there, and it was in the spotlight but out of the spotlight because he was never the main guy. It was who were they recruit? It was Powell and Kobe, and they were trying to bring another piece in to make the Lakers great again.
Yeah.
And then when the piece came in, it was LeBron. Do you know what I mean? Like, and the Lakers weren't relevant until then, and Julius was gone.
Yeah.
So what do you do? Julius was, I believe Julius was part of the let's bring to get LeBron there. I could be wrong on that.
I think
He just didn't re-sign, did he? Or did they trade him away? No, he went in free agency, didn't he? No, he went to New York in free agency. I'm sure he was traded to New Orleans. I can't even remember. It's such a dark time for the Lakers.
So, July the 9th, 2018, Randall signed a 2-year, $18 million contract with the Pelicans.
Yep.
So he just left the Lakers.
Yeah.
And that makes sense because they essentially...
That's right. No, they weren't going to renew him.
They just cleared cap space and then brought
They
LeBron in.
weren't going to sign him.
Yeah.
He just left in free agency.
It's crazy, isn't it?
That was terrible.
Yeah.
But he's gone from strength to strength.
Yeah.
But there's been no... Through the early years, there was nothing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, even though you see the potential there was no spotlight focus in his rookie year. Sophomore year wasn't really a big deal.
Yeah.
and then sort of you fade into to non-existence. So he's one of those, I think, players that didn't have enough of a rookie impact.
I think for me, when it comes to people who don't get enough hobby love, part of it is that they're big guys, they're not guards.
Ooh.
And sometimes it can be literally as simple as that.
Okay.
Like, just big guys just don't seem to be as collectible as what guards are. And
that's interesting.
You know, does Randall sort of fit into that part? I think the other thing for me about Randall is that he's not particularly that athletic, so he's not, you know, high flying, and his game is very in between pull up mid-range jumpers.
Yeah.
So how exciting.
Yep.
You know, and how much sort of buzz does that create? I think his game has developed a lot of nuances, and you can really see him understanding the game a lot better now, because before he just seemed to be like very one-dimensional. He was just like a freight train, and if you got into the right spot, you could kind of like draw a charge, you know what I mean? Whereas now he changes paces, he can almost dribble with two hands now, and
with those T-Rex arms of his,
yeah, and he can pull up, you know, so you can see that he's. And look, what happened last year in New York was amazing, and I actually really enjoyed watching them play and him play in particular.
It was exciting to watch.
And this season, I was watching the Knicks a lot, and that was also, to be honest, because I was gambling on the Knicks a lot. But it's been really disappointing this year to see like they haven't played as well, and
they just couldn't put it together.
They haven't been as exciting, and to be honest, I think a lot of that is due because Randall hasn't been as good. I think last year they were so dependent on him and his shot making in particular. So,
but we'll see. We've got half a season to go. Hopefully, you can turn that around. But yeah.
Look, I think for me, I really can't go past Tim Duncan.
Another big.
Yeah, and look, I think in some ways what I just said then is very applicable to Duncan. Like, his game is not particularly that exciting. You know,
there's a reason he got nicknamed the Big Fundamental.
Yeah, he's a big guy.
He's a product of the system.
Yeah.
And one of the greatest.
Well, that's the thing. Like, his resume is just insane.
Yeah. And
the amount of, you know, championships that he's won, and that every year that he played, his team went to the playoffs.
Yeah, it's impressive. There's no two ways about it. It's impressive.
Yeah. I kind of feel like he's in some ways like a modern Bill Russell, in that, you know, how many championships did Russell win? Was it 11? Something
ridiculous.
Yeah.
It was.
And obviously Duncan didn't win that many, but is that the closest sort of comparison that you can make to, you know, an all-timer that, you know, played both ends of the floor? And
well, it's interesting though, because there's another name on this list.
Yep.
From that same the changing of the guard, so to speak. The Admiral himself.
Yeah.
You know, David Robinson. Both great players.
Yeah.
And yet not getting any love in Hobbyland.
So in that era, they were in San Antonio, so it was a small market. And what else were they like fighting up against, you know, during that time for Hobby is you could argue Jordan.
Sure. Yeah, it's fair.
And if you're David Robinson, like one...
You think about greats from the 90s. This is where the game's changed, I guess. You got Jordan. Jordan's Jordan.
Yeah. And particularly hobby-wise, right? Like, let's be honest. Like,
but people
if you say
look back lovingly about the 90s,
yeah,
and you will hear David Robinson, Alonzo Mourning, Patrick Ewing, Hakeem Olajuwon.
Yeah.
They're all bigs.
Yeah.
Like, they're all these big players.
Yeah.
And then you sort of goes into Kobe and Shaq.
Yeah.
Then you got Duncan, and you're like, more bigs. Shaq got a bit of love. That's because he was a personality.
I mean, I don't have like the facts to back this up, but I feel as though Shaq rookie cards and even sort of higher end Shaq cards, they seem still very obtainable.
Yeah, you're right. No, that's fair.
Well, that might be like a little bit of the era that they were released in, of that sort of like, you know, junk wax. Look, that could be part of it.
Yeah.
But also, even for him, as big of a player as he is, and his personality wise, it doesn't really feel like his prices have like played out that much.
Yeah.
When that whole craze last year was happening, when people were going back and buying like 90s cards and 80s cards, I got caught up in that, and I was buying Tim Duncan.
Yep.
And it really did seem like it was really good value. a lot of that stuff now's gone down by 50%. So
it was a fad.
yeah, it was like, and the irony was at the time when I was buying it, it still felt like a good deal because you're looking at what cards were selling for, for these days values. It was like 50% less or 60% less of what ultra modern was selling for, and this is like an absolute all-timer. So I was just buying graded Duncan rookies, and they're still like 70% less than what you'd be paying for, say, Anthony Edwards.
Yeah, that's bizarre. That is bizarre.
The whole equation just doesn't make sense. Yeah. So I think for me, that's my big one. Who isn't getting enough hobby love? I think it has to be Duncan. Do I ever expect it to change? No, I don't think it's ever going to change. Do I think he's a good buy and over the years he'll go up 0.5% or 1% per year? Yes, I think that is probably
a little bit of a return on it.
What will happen? Yeah. But you're never going to make $1 million. But I'd probably say
so. There won't be any rookie cards that sell for $255,000
of Duncan.
Well, they won't up.
Off the top of my head, I'll say no.
No.
There's some optic hollows of his that sell for like
big money.
Yeah, they're really big. Like I was buying lower end like rookie cards, but yeah.
Interesting.
I don't know. Look, I really liked Duncan, so I had no trouble like buying into it, and I have no regrets. Like it's done now. But
all right. So we've both picked a player, and funnily enough, we both picked a big.
Yep.
I'm going to name two players, and I'd like to know why they don't get any love.
Yeah, sure.
One of them I think is going to get some love.
Yep.
The other is I've a question mark over it. The first is James Harden.
Yep.
Now, he's achieved some pretty phenomenal feats.
Yeah.
In Houston, especially, like
scoring records.
That's what I mean. Like, this is.
He changed the game for better or worse in terms of drawing fouls. They actually
had to change the rules.
Yeah, literally for him.
Why don't people give James Harden? You said it was. We were talking about Tim Duncan and Julius, and it's been a problem where he's not a guard. They're not guards, so they don't get as much love. This guy's a guard.
Yep.
And he doesn't get much love at all. On a collector's sense, I don't think I've ever come across a hardcore James Harden collector.
Yeah.
Now, I have a theory about it. It's because he left his original team. Well, he was traded away, but do you know what I mean? Like, all his rookie cards are going to be Thunder. It's OKC. Like, he's synonymous with Houston, but everything, and funnily enough, Randall's Lakers and made his name with New York.
Yeah.
Does it deter collectors if they were drafted by a different team? Like, I'm sure it's not a big deal because the next name I'm going to name is DeMar DeRozan, and now that he's gone to a bigger market like Chicago, is he more collectible, or is Zach LaVine going to be the focus?
Look, I think the way that DeRozan is playing this year, it's drawn a lot of attention to him, and I think for people that have probably enjoyed basketball at a deeper level for the last 10 years, you'll know who DeMar DeRozan is, and you know that every year his footwork has improved, his jump shooting has improved.
Yep.
You also would know that his range has actually extended a little bit, and as his body's slowed down, he's added more scoring options into his game so that he doesn't have that same athleticism there, but
he makes up for it
in other ways.
Plenty of other ways, yeah.
But at the end of the day with DeMar DeRozan, he was traded for Kawhi Leonard and the Raptors won a championship. So for me, that answers the hobby question straight away.
Oh, really?
Who are you going to buy, DeMar DeRozan or Kawhi Leonard? You're going to buy Kawhi Leonard
this year?
100 times out of 100, even right now. So,
even right now, I think Kawhi doesn't get much love in the market.
Yeah, but that's because of his personality. Let's just be 100% honest, and then
call a spade a spade.
Yeah, and let's leave that conversation.
A spade is more entertaining than Kawhi.
Look, if you're telling me you can make a play this year on a pump and dump on DeMar DeRozan, go for it. And if you're telling me that this year Kawhi Leonard is down, and you should buy him up because long term he's going to be a Hall of Fame player and he's going to do really well, I would say, do you know what?
I worry about him long term injury wise. I just worry about Kawhi. I think he's just been so inconsistent since he left San Antonio.
If he never plays again, he's still a player that's won 2 championships at 2 different teams. And that is incredible.
That's a phenomenal feat.
Yeah, he's a two-way player. He's an absolutely dominating player. He's a top 5 player in the league. Like, that's even if he never plays again, which he probably will, because he's looked after his body. He's always been super conservative with like load management.
Yeah, that's
yada yada. Like, you know,
he's got upside. Yeah, I don't know. Does DeRozan get a new lease on life in Chicago, and do people jump on board with that?
Look, I'm sure he's getting a little bit of like hobby action now. But
I've just seen a lot of him in the news. It's just DeMar does it again.
Yeah.
Oh, stop it, DeMar! Or like it was like, does that translate to the hobby? That's I suppose where this question or
I don't think so. I really do think, like, you know, it just comes down to as simple as that.
Do you know what the funny thing is? There's a player that hasn't been mentioned on this list.
Who you got?
We're back to bigs.
You're going really quick for me today. I'm not going to lie to you. I've tried to like bring up some
card
data stuff and you've just like skipped on.
Jokic.
So, can we hold for 1 second?
Yep.
Alrighty. So DeMar DeRozan, Topps Chrome 2009 rookie card. He last sold for. You're going to love this. You are going to absolutely love this. Last sold for $335 US. In the last 3 months, he's up 415%.
So somebody's noticed.
Yeah. Yeah. And
so okay. So
we've spoken about this already.
Yeah.
For me, this is like the big market measure.
Yeah.
You know, he was in Toronto, which is like a market that potentially could be out of the league in a couple of years, and he's gone to like one of the biggest ones in the league, which is Chicago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's like I think I've touched on that a couple of times. It's the change of scenery, and he's sort of resurrected. Like he's just in a big market now, and people there's more people that support Chicago to appreciate him, and I think a lot of those people would be either Chicago fans or watching Chicago for better use of a term.
Yeah, 100%.
What about our lovely friend James Harden?
I had Harden up, and then
I changed to DeRozan.
Yeah. So James Harden, 2009 Topps. This is just the base card. Last sold for $33 US. That's a raw.
Whoa. And what's our
PSA 10? Last sold for $78, and he's down 97%.
Yikes!
That has to be wrong.
So for a man that is already not getting love in the hobby.
That can't be right.
No, I'm looking at this. That's wrong. That's wrong. The PSA 10 one's wrong. Last sold for $78. PSA 10. No way. That cannot be.
All right. I say we put this onto the action list to be followed up.
I'll look at the raw prices because that makes more sense.
Yep.
Yeah. Last sold $33. That makes sense. The raw makes sense to me because it's dropped 50%. They were selling at $70. Now the last one sold for $33.
But
highest sale in the last 3 months is $100. He's an up and down player. It's not a high volume. Do you know what I mean?
Are we looking at this?
Is that the Harden? Yep. Is this the base raw? The 2009?
That's the base PSA 10.
I looked at the PSA 10. That's just ridiculous. That's actually a rubbish stat. It's got to be a rubbish stat. So it's saying...
Okay, but let's just take out the $78 sale.
Okay. Right.
So
we'll go to the last...
So it's between a $3,000 card and a $1,500 card, but you can buy the raw for $33.
Yeah.
Isn't that a play?
You need to buy the raws.
Yeah.
Given that the last sale price is $78, that's probably why.
Okay, fine. Like let's
let's
check it out. But
do we buy it? No, but do you buy?
This is going onto our to-do list.
All right.
We have to spend more time on
I want to know who bought a PSA 10 James Harden for $78.
I want to know who paid for $3,000.
Yeah, true.
I want to know these people. It's like I want to meet the person that spent $200 on an NBA hoops Lamelo Ball on release day. Who are these people that do that?
I don't think they're basketball people. I think they're investors.
And then now, what could you sell one for $5?
Well, Lamelo. Yeah,
Hoops.
Hoops. No, it's still Lamelo.
All right, you're on. I'm going to try and sell one tonight for $5.
$5?
Yeah.
Done.
I'll see if I can sell one.
We'll see.
Do you want to talk about Jokic and then we'll move
Yeah.
on?
Now, is that... All right, so, well, I figured we'll use... Well, James Harden's been an MVP.
Yeah.
Nikola Jokic,
Yeah.
the reigning MVP.
Yeah. His stuff sells pretty well, though.
Does he?
Yeah. Like, you can't pick his stuff up for cheap. And I think part of that is probably the European, influence.
Yeah, that's fair.
I think that outside of the US, he'll be getting a little bit more support, and then obviously he's going to be getting some support within the US. So I'm looking at PSA 10 base. Last sold for $480.
Okay.
Yeah, he's down 30% though, that's quite fascinating, really.
Reigning MVP down 30%. That could be a hobby thing. We've established this though. There has been a downtrend.
There is a huge downtrend, isn't there?
So that's,
and maybe that just fits into that.
So it's not a crazy downtrend. It's concerning.
Do you think that he'll win MVP again this year?
Well, he's playing recently.
Yeah,
quite possible. He's definitely put his hat in the ring.
Yeah.
No, look, there's plenty of players that are going to
buy, hold, or sell PSA 10 Nikola Jokic.
Oh, that one's tough. At that current price,
yeah, last sale,
I'd buy.
Yeah,
I'd buy. I think that 30% down is
it's juicy, isn't it?
It's not quite buying at the complete dip.
Yeah,
because I feel like there's a part of the season where people just, I don't know, forget he exists, and all of a sudden he wins MVP.
Yeah.
I think it, once again, could be a byproduct of the market. But yeah, I don't know. Like, he's got value. Yep. He's not like James Harden crazy, like $33 for a raw rookie card.
I probably think at the moment Harden is a better buy than Jokic, just for the price ratio. Like, if you're picking up a base for $30.
Well, you talk about price points. I'm like, you're gonna invest like $300-400 in a card.
Yeah.
You probably rather, we'll say for $330 you can buy 10 James Harden rookies, or one year. Yeah.
And a base Jokic is last sold for $83. So finally they're up 20%.
That's it. I don't know. This is why sometimes it must ebb and flow.
Or is that people just preparing for PSA reopening?
Normal slabs are open.
I'm going to buy some of those Hardens.
Yeah, the Hardens are tempting.
I'm convinced.
It's interesting. It's still...
Can I be honest with you? I can lose $30 and not lose any sleep either.
Yeah, true. Make it $80 and try and get one of those PSA 10s.
Let's go.
$78 for a PSA 10, and let the guy that spent $3,000 on it.
See, there's some benefits of doing this podcast. Like, I would never have gone through James Harden sale prices.
It's there's a lot of people that wouldn't have. Very, very. But it's a good question. There's a lot. I think there's a lot of players there that don't get love though.
Alrighty, our last part of the Manifesto review, part 5: sneakers, cards, and the future.
And the future. So I've briefly gone over this.
Look, I think there's only really one part that we need to talk about, and to come full circle, both for the answer to this question and for me personally, let's return to the comparison with sneakers. Are cards here to stay? So the question is, are cards here to stay?
For at least the next 4 or 5 years, until we see what Fanatics do with it. But it is here for the long term.
Yeah.
the numbers that are being graded card-wise suggest that there are a lot of collectors investing a lot of money to get a lot of cards graded. So it's not going to disappear anytime soon.
Yeah.
Do we run the risk of another 90s collapse?
Of course.
But we've seen the hobby bounce back multiple times.
Yeah.
Like that. Do you know what I mean? Like the junk wax era.
Yeah.
So look, we might hit that break point again, because it always comes down. He does refer a lot to that supply demand dance, effectively, that you go between.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. It's I don't think they're going anywhere. I think cards will be around for a very, very long time.
Yeah.
What that looks like, nobody knows.
Yeah.
And I think that's what he's kind of saying. He's got what he sees as his vision, and he's put a bunch of ideas out, and the way he sees the industry is represented.
Yeah.
And compares a lot to sneakers through all their differences and similarities. But yeah, the short answer to the question is yes. Cards are here to stay.
Yeah. I think this last 12 months has just been crazy.
Crazy's underselling it.
Yeah. Like when you went from a point of no matter what you bought, you could wait a week or a month or 2 months and the price would go up on sealed or on singles, or you're sending cards off to get graded to come back. And now it almost seems like
it's gone full circle almost.
Yeah, we went to a period when it was the opposite. You're buying sealed product that was depreciating before you even got it into your hands.
Yeah.
And then you can't even grade PSA cards at the moment because the price is so high. And then you're going into breaks, and the cards that you get back are you can't sell them because the market had sort of cooled off a bit.
Yeah.
So like that sort of 12 month of turbulence, I think, like is very unsettling. But now I kind of feel as though, and reading his information and looking at his from sort of a bigger perspective, and he talks about bringing more people into the market. I think you can't deny that. I think there's a lot more eyeballs in this space, and there's a lot more people now participating in the space. And look, I definitely think we've lost some hardcore collectors because they've just said this is too expensive, or this is too hard, or this is not what it used to be.
Yeah, this isn't the hobby people.
Yep. And then for every maybe 1 or 2 people of those that we've lost, we might have gained 5 or 10 new people who are new to the game, who are looking to see what all this is about, who are flippers.
Watched a few TikToks from Gary V.
Yeah.
Telling them to go and buy some.
Darren Fox, Gary V, I want you to go away.
He's going to suggest you buy NFTs next.
Yeah. So, that's probably how I feel about all of this. And yes, it's been a very tumultuous year, but we're kind of through that now. And maybe we're going into this period of where we did have a little bit of a reset because prices were so crazy. I'd like to use profanity because it was crazy.
It was
unaffordable.
It was so volatile.
Yeah. And now we're in a sweet spot where actually you can buy into breaks and you're actually starting to get back at like value. Is that actually possible now that actually getting value? And like you're right, he does
affordable case breaks.
Yeah, that would be nice. And he's talking about the card market and the industry in general. And look, I have no knowledge of that at all, but I kind of understand the parallel that he's trying to make there. And actually this year I think it's going to be a really good year because I think the people who are now still around and still here, I think we've lost all those people that came in for the pump and dump, and now we've actually gained some people who are actually interested in it. And there are some people who generally came in who are interested, and I think some people will come back. And then those people that sort of stayed through all of it, you sort of your core guys, of course, like they're your hardcore, live to ride, type dudes. So they're still going to be there too. So and I think product is interesting. They've done a lot of innovation. They're throwing a lot of clay onto the wall and seeing what's sticking. And for better or worse, Recon, Chronicles.
They're throwing stuff on the wall, and some people are getting super creative and just sticking stuff on other cards.
Select Retail. Yes, we've had a lot of people say that product was crap, but it was also very innovative.
Select Retail.
Yeah.
I thought that was a great idea. You've got a different color base card. Like, they're trying different things.
They are trying different things, and some of this stuff is going to stick, and some of this stuff is going to work out.
There'll be a 1 of 1 in every pack. No, it's innovative. It's some things aren't going to work. Some things are. But the one consistent thing is that they're trying new things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And they've given us our old favourites. They're trying different things. They're trying different angles. They acknowledge that they need to look after the collectors.
Yeah.
Without the collectors, they don't have a hobby.
Yeah.
There's no one to sell the product to.
My only concern is, and you met my daughter today for the first time, and she was walking around with a handbag, and in that handbag was stuffed full of, like, now extremely damaged cards. Which I'm pretty sure she gave you one. That was like the ultimate compliment, by the way.
I got a was it
DeAndre Hunter?
DeAndre Hunter.
Hoops rookie.
That was a pretty sweet card.
That goes into the pool room, man.
I'm not gonna send it for $15 grading.
Do not send it for $250 grading either, mate. That's gone. Anyway.
Slightly damaged.
So look, all jokes aside, what my concern is like that we've got this next generation of people or children that can't get their hands on cards. So how do they solve that problem? Because Hoops was supposed to be for children, I think.
Do you think Hoops this year is going to be for children?
Maybe this is like what the 12 months has taught us, is that like...
Stop buying hoops?
Yeah, you need to be a bit more sensible about like what you invest your money in or what you spend your money on, and that NBA Hoops is actually not a chase product. It's a product that you should open while you're drinking beers with your mates, to just open some packets together, or packets that your kid should be getting for $1 or $2 a packet. Like, I hate to say this, but like what I used to do when I was a kid, and I think that's probably
that's what got us into the hobby as children.
That's right, and that's what I'm concerned about. What the next generation is currently missing out on, because it's ridiculous to spend $10 or $20 on a packet. I don't know. Okay, what do they cost? $7 a packet to give it to your kid. Do you know what I'm trying to say? They're like,
should be $3 a pack.
Yeah, exactly. It should be $2 a packet. Honestly, like,
it should be just get them into their hands.
Yeah, exactly.
Get them their cardboard crack addiction.
Yeah. Maybe that's something we need to do, is like create almost like a re-gifted / re-product.
Repacked. I used to do that.
Cards for kids. But
that's what I did.
Give them away. You know what I mean? Yeah. Because surely all these adults have got these boxes and boxes of base cards. We were talking about this off air, actually. Like,
yeah. And this is where you're like,
because the cards are awesome.
They want to open cards, and they want.
This one, look at cards. Cards are awesome.
Yeah.
They got pictures on them. They got numbers. Like, they're doing cool stuff. Like, you
and they
put
want
them
to
in
trade
your handbag.
Well, that's it though. Like, and you give them a variety. You let them trade cards amongst themselves.
Yeah.
They don't pay anything for them. They just want to trade for the ones they want
because they're cool. Yeah.
And that's at the end of the day, that's the grassroots level of the hobby.
Yeah.
And it'd be sad to deny
have
children
3
that.
years of kids been neglected on that.
Oh look, the kids have been neglected for a lot the last couple of years. Yeah. Not allowed to go to school in some areas, but that's the thing. It's one thing at the adult end of the hobby to say, let's buy a product where there's no base cards because we just want the hits.
No, that's good. Yeah, that's good. We should do that.
We should be able to buy that product.
Yeah, that's 1-on-1.
But the kids need to be able to have base cards.
100%.
They need to be able to pull out the look, I don't want to insult Hoops, but they need to be able to pull out tacky insert sets that are worth nothing to the high end collectors.
Yeah.
That are just cool to complete the set.
Yeah.
Teach them collecting at a base level.
Yeah. Look,
and
if you're collecting on a hobby, NBA Hoops is awesome. And look, I know I'm slightly contradicting myself here, but the cards are good. The base set is huge, so you get to see 300 different people in a card. The inserts, the colors are nice. They're good. You get 1 or 2 autos per box. It's a really nice thing to collect. I've collected 3 years worth of Hoops. I've got like full sets of them. Yeah. I've got no apologies for that either. Like, they're good to collect. Yeah.
They're fun as a collecting thing.
But they are for children.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not an investment. You know what I mean? Like, it's not an investment. It's having fun.
If you paid $200 for that Lamelo card, it's now worth $10.
But we'll see if it's a kid's product or not when you get $5 for that Lamelo rookie.
Should we tie off?
Yeah, I think that's another episode in the books.
Yep.
We're back for 2022.
We're back, baby.
It's gonna be onwards and upwards this year. Yeah. It's looking like it's going to be a fun-packed year, we'll say.
Yeah. If you want to hit us up on our socials, you can hit us up on Instagram, youcantcompthis, on Twitter, @youcantcompthis, Gmail, youcantcompthis@gmail.com, and we also have a Facebook page set up, You Can't Comp This Podcast. Cheers, mate. Thanks for a great episode. Thank you, everyone, for listening, and we'll catch you all real soon.
Awesome. See you guys.
Cheers. Okay, just like to do a quick addendum for the segment that we did on who isn't getting enough hobby love. We had Dave Ellis message in about Bill Russell, and he deliberately wasn't mentioned because we would like to do Bill Russell as a feature in the future. So look out for that in a future episode.